Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Joanna, and if you are curious what is inside this secret box, I think this symbol tells you something about what is inside, but everything will be clear if you see this name. So as you can see, S.T.A.L.K.E.R in a board game version. Of course, in this video I will tell you a little bit more about how to play on this board game. I will show you how this game looks like on the table. So I invite you to this video. I hope you like it. If so, it will be great if you leave a like. And now enjoy watching. The gameplay map, as you can see, consists of modular tiles, so we will arrange them a little differently in each successive mission. The tiles themselves are divided into space of different sizes, over which we will move. We can also place buildings on the map, such 3D models, as well as miniatures of various obstacles like a barrel on chest, and of course we set up stalkers and, in this case, bandits. As for the mission, each will be described in such a tiny handy booklet, some notebook, which you can easily keep on the table because it doesn't take up too much space. And on the first few pages you have an introduction to our entire adventure, and then on subsequent pages there are various events, different elements of the terrain that change the situation for us. And the end of each turn is also described, I mean what actions we need to do. So everything what changed during the scenario is shown here. Okay, now returning to the map. These 3 models are supposed to be an option on the campaign because, as you can see, when I pull down a model, here on the map there are marked with a yellow line the edge of the buildings. So if someone doesn't want to use such a model, they don't have to. But you may have also noticed such an element that is inspired from another game, Awaken Realms, I mean from the Ether fields. As you can see here on the map, I place the cards and that have various actions printed on them. When we execute them, we turn them over and then the situation changes for us. Inside the buildings also lie down tokens, which when we look into the buildings will indicate to us if and how many and what kind of characters, I mean enemy, are waiting for us. So in this case there will be specific characters waiting, that is our bandits. Speaking of opponents, each bandit in this case has his own stats card. Here in the corner we have a statistic, his movement, but these stats will interest us when we will shoot him. If we aim at the head, we must have 7 successes for him to die. On the other hand, sometimes the gun, our weapon, will not let us aim and then we hit the torso. So depending on how much damage we inflict is such ones. But if the bandit will attack us, then here we check his parameters, I mean range and strength or his damage. Sometimes there is also an effect after the attacking, that is, for example, hiding, because bandits are rather among the intelligent opponents, so they do not stand in the middle and wait for us to finish them off, but only able to hide. Okay, so now again I will come back to the map. As far as buildings are concerned, as you can see, we can enter them and look through a window or through a door, which is always shown to us by such an icon with an eye, whether we have these 3 models or don't use it. As for the cards, I don't want to show you too much here and reveal and spoil. You can see for yourself how it works, how it functions in gameplay. Now look at the anomaly. As you can see, here on the side is one of them. So as for the anomaly, here is one. We know that here is, while we don't know how it works. We can find out about it by simply entering it or by throwing, well, for example, a handful of screws. As far as the anomaly is concerned, each of them has its own card. At the moment there is an interaction, you reveal a card to yourself and pull a token from the back. Depending on what kind of token is it, I mean what color and symbol, well, differently things will happen described on the card. Here on this card of things, additionally, as you can see the anomaly, we can also explore it. In this case, by spending a short action. On the other hand, if we can collect a particular combination of these tokens drawn from the back, and we will get an artifact. And then we get ourselves an artifact card, we can use it abilities. Of course, in this board game we have different types of anomalies that will affect us, I mean Stalkers players, as well as affect our opponents in different ways, provided that we manage to attract our enemy to the anomaly. Anyway, here, for example, you can see an electric anomaly, which after drawing a yellow or blue anomaly token, will get us with radiation. And as far as radiation is concerned, we mark it for ourselves on such a Geiger counter. Well, and getting radiation up to a certain point, basically nothing happens, but there comes a moment when we will have to reach for the red dice and roll them and perhaps inflict damage of ourselves. And if it's necessary, then we reach for the wound cards and consider if from this green side, depending on what we roll, here we will still have such a dice wheel wounds. So as you can see, depending on the result, so much of this radiation can increase. However, anomalies are not the only and not the main concern of Stalkers. You can now see the map of first mission. Here the goal is to free the S.T.A.L.K.E.R, which has been trapped somewhere in one of these buildings by bandits. The bandits are already spread out on the map, patrolling the area for themselves. We are the Stalkers, enter at the specific place. When we starting the game, it's twilight, but night will turn into dawn and we will be more visible. So we have to hurry to find the S.T.A.L.K.E.R and escape. So this is the goal in this scenario. I just add that S.T.A.L.K.E.R, the board game, is cooperative game, so if any of the players die, we all lost this mission. Well, take a look now for the S.T.A.L.K.E.R board. Of course, each S.T.A.L.K.E.R has its own card with stats, but what's interesting, look, each S.T.A.L.K.E.R will move slightly differently. For example, Milady, it has the ability to perform a sprint, that is to move 3 spaces and does not generate so much noise, so she uses such small yellow tokens to mark the noise. I will tell you a little more about noise in a moment, but already, for example, a Palcan dropped over a whole loot of equipment. As it goes, it's ringing all, so it generates this noise more, and he will use the bigger red noise token. When it comes to action, we have few different actions, for example, short action, long action, it can be immediately action, quick action, and they are all marked with icons with square brackets. So as for the action we have to perform in a turn, we will be used by such 3 tokens each player. And each S.T.A.L.K.E.R also have different bonuses on this. For example, Milady has guaranteed successes. This is star symbol. But Palcan, for example, has such a long action which add him a blue dice. In addition, we always have an extra move, what is marked on the tokens. And by performing the action, we turn over the token to mark this. So as you can see, we have 3 actions to perform, plus no limited free actions from items, for example. When we have an energy drink, we have drink it, and we have a temporary strength. Although we discard this card, but we refresh ourselves with these tokens, so these actions we immediately gain another 3. In addition, everyone, of course, has its own weapon. Its statistics are specified on the app, that is the range and damage, but you have to remember that if after rolling the dice you get 2 skulls, then unfortunately the weapon will jump. What do we mark with a token? So in new turn, you will have to lose an action to fix it. And here, depending on the action performed, whether it will be long or short, we shoot accordingly. The value indicated here tells us how much this weapon is worth when we go to the store and sell or buy assortment there. In addition, we will be able to enhance our weapons simply by adding a card, and here we pay attention to the tabs so that for a given type of weapon we can fit these additional elements. And in addition, each of the hero, each of the stalkers does have a starter jacket which determines his defense, while we will also be able to find ourselves some better clothing, which this defense are greater, as well as the level of impact of radiation, and then simply swap it. On the other side player board, you have some equipment on hand somewhere in a pocket. That is one that we can use, as well as space in the backpack. And to swap, pull out to the backpack and put something in the pocket, but for this you have to use an action. And one more thing that you will surely associate with another game, namely wounds, specifically wound cards, which we slip to ourselves in dedicated places under the board. And if a wound is unhealed, it lies exposed. If we cure it, then we turn the card over. We can also heal it, taking the card back. But first of all, you have to know is when we have 3 wound cards, then here, in this place, we put such a red marker, which informs us that if we get any more, we die. And such a scenario does not propose to consider, because if it dies, even one of the heroes, then the whole team loses. So as far as the quantity of concert, I mean 3 wounds, it works very much like in Nemesis board game, of course. A moment ago I mentioned the mechanism of noise, and here actually there is no analogy to the noise from Nemesis. More these mechanics you may associate with the noise from the Zombicide game series, and although here that works differently. Everything stalkers do, among other things, movement creates noise and drawn to attention of bandits. So if I would like to melee move 3 spaces as a sprint, I have to place 3 tokens on the space where I ended my movement. So 1 token for each space which the hero moves. As you can see, we have 2 types of noise tokens, because already Palcan moving makes more noise. So in this case, we will use this stronger red noise token, and so it would draw more attention to the bandits. In addition, there are space on the map that provide additionally protection. On the other hand, in this particular situation, this space does not make Stalker invisible, because the hero is in the space of line on sight of the bandit at the moment. So I'm sure that he will shoot at me, and just this protection will help me to defend myself from this shoot a little more. To shooting I will pass in a moment, while I can continue my movement. If I wanted to go to an adjacent space, in this case to the anomaly, I will have to consider entering affect the anomaly, while those nose tokens remains as well as previous space. On other situation, I could retreat from this space to the adjacent one, and then to the space where I finish my move, place 1 token in this case, because I move 1 space. So at this point, this space will generate more attention from the opposing bandits, because it has more noise tokens on it. Of course, while moving around, we can use all sorts of boosters, such a smoke grenade that is to just make such a smoke screen for ourselves, so that we can move to the next space and not be noticed by the enemy if that space just happens to be in line of sight. And speaking of line of sight, now 2 words of explanation how it works. As I showed you at the beginning, on the map we have buildings as well as obstacles such as barrels, some chests, which will limit line of sight. Each bandit marks with such this token is observing, patrolling the area, and so if we look in an area when he has a line of sight and the space of vision he has in front and to the sides, he didn't see stalkers. Well, in a V-table, he can't see what is happening behind, and so his miniature positioning is crucial here. And what is most important, when he will see us, then he will attack. So the line of sight is always determined in a straight line in 3 directions and never diagonally. So in this case, we count the number of spaces that separated the stalker from the bandit, or rather the bandit from the hero, and then check the stats on the card of this opponent. In this case, we would have to put the red noise token. We check the range while we do the attack, that is, we assign damage to the hero. Sometimes the enemy also has a special ability after the attack, which, for example, will allow him to hide. So in this case, this space provides me with 1 protection. In addition, the Milady jacket provides protection in the form of a roll of 2 blue dice. And depending on how many successes on the dice I roll, so much damage I'm able to prevent. So strength of the attack was 5, I have 1 protection of the space on which I stand, and I roll as many as 6 successes here, so well, this time the bandit misses, so I'm quite lucky, but so for the future it's better not to position myself directly in the line of sight of the enemy. Well, now 2 more words about how the procedure for shooting the bandit is. Of course, the perfect situation is when we manage to take the bandit from behind, that is, well, are not in his line of sight, and therefore it reminds to check the statistic of our weapon. So let's say Milady perform a long action, so she will use this part of weapon. She spends 1 ammunition to mark this shoot. In this case, she will have to put 2 noise tokens on the space where she is standing, because, well, this shoot generate a big boom. So that's how she marks it, and this place will centrally attract the attention of other bandits. So I propose evacuate from here after shooting. You have here indicated on the weapon what die and in what quantity you should roll. In this example, 2 red dice and 1 blue die. In addition, the Milady character performing a long action here is guaranteed 1 success, so she will definitely get 1 hit. Now she had to choose whether she aim at the head and then such a bandit will die as long as she gets 7 successes, or however at the torso, here the required minimum of 3 successes. The more, of course, the better, because later she will check how much damage she has done to the opponent. But let's say we aim to the head. So the roll of the dice and the results will determine whether you can hit and kill the enemy. In this case, I have already obtained 7 successes on the dice, plus the 1 from my action token. So the action definitely shoot him in the head, meaning he is dead. As a reward, he leaves me a chest with some loot, meaning I can pick it up and perhaps find some cool item. But you have to remember, if one of the dice I roll the results with skull and I got 2 skulls, it means that my gun will jump, what to mark myself with a token. And finally, what happens when stalkers finish their activations? And that is when stalkers players use up all their tokens, actions tokens. Then we move on the turn of the bandits who activate, and how and what they do we have shown on the chart like this, and it just looks so difficult. So first thing, we checked if there are any heroes are in the line of sight and in range of our bandits. In short, we count the distance of the spaces. If this is the case, there is an attack, which is just advisable here how the bandits attack. If there is no one in line of sight, there we check ourselves the level of noise or just some kind of attention. That is how the noise tokens are distributed with that intensity. Then the bandits will head to such a place, turn around in the direction and check if there is someone there. Do we have some stalkers in line of sight? There is an attack immediately. And if not, we clean ourselves up after one red noise token. That is not because their bandits decide that it's okay, here nothing happens, it's clean. So when we deactivation all the bandits one by one, who are on the board of course, then again we return to the Stalker's turn. So we turn over the page in our notebook and check how the conditions of the board have changed. Each new adventure, each new scenario will have its own little box in this board game. On the back is described the purpose of that mission, and inside you will find all the components need to play it. So if you are familiar with Cthulhu Death May Die, the board game, for example, here is a similar solution, that is to pack the scenarios in small separate boxes. But if you want to look at the adventure in this board game more, generally, you would use a binder, just like in the ISS Vanguard, the board game. This is where you will place the card of your team members, your stalkers sitting around the campfire. This is where you put the card of the equipment you find. And before a new mission, together you will distribute the equipment between you so that each hero will prepare for the task. Okay, that is just for me today. You have seen how the S.T.A.L.K.E.R board game presents itself and how to play it. I hope my video will help you decide if this is the board game for you. If you like this video, then leave a like, it will be great of course, and maybe also write a comment in the section below. And what important, I leave you the link to the campaign page in the description below. Thank you very much for watching, and see you or hear you in the next video. Bye bye!